Okay, it's Miss Gross again. I'm going to read Chapter 3 of Cirque du Freak. In case you can't tell, reading out loud is one of my favorite things to do, so I really get into it. So I hope you like the way I read it. Also, I'm going to be moving my cursor along the words underneath the words I'm reading. I really encourage you to read the book along with me. Don't just listen, because that's what's going to really help your fluency. If you're reading the words while I'm saying them and you hear fluent reading. Okay? So, Chapter 3 of Cirque du Freak. Steve persuaded Mr. Dalton to let him keep the flyer. He said he wanted it for his bedroom wall. Mr. Dalton wasn't going to give it to him, but then changed his mind. He cut off the address at the bottom before handing it over. After school, the four of us, me, Steve, Alan Morris, and Tommy Jones, met outside and studied the glossy flyer. Glossy means it's like shiny, that kind of paper. It's got to be a fake, I said. Why? Alan asked. They don't allow freak shows anymore, I told him. Wolfmen and snake boys were outlawed years ago. Mr. Dalton said so. It's not a fake, Alan insisted. Where'd you get it? Tommy asked. I stole it, Alan said softly. It belongs to my big brother. Alan's big brother was Tony Morris, who used to be the school's biggest bully until he got thrown out. He's huge and mean and ugly. You stole it from Tony? I gasped. Have you got a death wish? He won't know it was me, Alan said. He had it in a pair of pants that my mother threw in the washing machine. I stuck a blank piece of paper in when I took this out. He'll think the ink got washed off. Smart, said Steve. Where did Tony get it? I asked. There was a guy passing them out in an alley, Alan said. One of the circus performers, a Mr. Crepsley. The one with the spider? Tommy asked. Yeah, Alan answered, only he didn't have the spider with him. It was night and Tony was on his way back from a bar. Tony's not old enough to get served in bars, but hangs out around with older guys who buy drinks for him. Mr. Crepsley handed out the paper to Tony, who told him they're a traveling freak show who put on a secret performances in towns and other cities across the world. He said you had to have a flyer to buy tickets, and they only give them to people they don't trust. They only give them to people they trust. You're not supposed to tell anyone else about this show. I only found out because Tony was in high spirits, the way he gets when he drinks, and couldn't keep his mouth shut. How much are the tickets? Steve asked. $23 each, Alan said. $23? We all shouted. Nobody's going to pay $23 to see a bunch of freaks, Steve snorted. I would, I said. Me too, Tommy agreed. And me, Alan added. Sure, Steve said, but we don't have $23 to throw away, so it's academic, isn't it? What does academic mean? Alan asked. It means we can't afford the tickets, so it doesn't matter if we could buy them or not. Steve explained. It's easy to say you would buy something if you know you can't. I'd love to go, Tommy said sadly. It sounds great. He studied the picture again. Mr. Dalton didn't think too much of it, Alan said. That's what I mean, Tommy said. If Dalton doesn't like it, it must be super. Anything that adults hate is normally awesome. Are you sure we don't have enough? I asked. Maybe they have discounts for children. I don't think children are allowed in, Alan said, but he told me how much he had anyway. $8.50. I've got $18 exactly, Steve said. I have $10.40, Tommy said. And I have $12.30, I told them. That's more than $49 in all, I said, adding it up in my head. We get our allowances tomorrow if we pool our... But the tickets are nearly sold out, Alan interrupted. The first show was yesterday. It finishes Tuesday. If we go, it'll have to be tomorrow night or Saturday because our parents won't let us out any other night. The guy who gave Tony the flyer said the tickets for both nights were almost gone. We'd have to buy them tonight. Well, so much for that, I said, putting on a brave face. Maybe not, Steve said. My mom keeps a wad of money in a jar at home. I could borrow some and put it back when we get our allowance. You mean steal? I asked. I mean borrow, he snapped. It's only stealing if you don't put it back. What do you say? How would we get the tickets? Tommy asked. Excuse me. It's a school night. We wouldn't be let out. I can sneak out, Steve said. I'll buy them. But Mr. Dalton snipped off the address, I reminded him. How would you know where to go? I memorized it, he grinned. Now, are we going to stand here all night making up excuses, or are we going to go for it? We looked at each other, then, one by one, nodded silently. Right, Steve said. We hurry home, grab our money, meet back here. Tell your parents you forgot a book or something. We'll lump the money together, and I'll add the rest from the pot at home. What if you can't borrow the money? I asked. He shrugged. Then the deal's off. But we won't know until we try. Now hurry! And with that, he sprinted away. Moments later, making up our minds, Tommy, Alan, and I ran too. And that's the end of chapter 3.